when discussing the June 2016 Trump Tower meeting, you referenced, quote, the firm that produced Steele reporting, unquote. The name of that firm was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
And you're on page 103?
103, that's correct, volume 2. When you talk about the firm that produced the Steele reporting, the name of the firm that produced that was Fusion GPS. Is that correct?
Well, I'm not familiar with that. And
let me just help you. It's not a trick question. Right? It was Fusion GPS. Now, Fusion GPS produced the opposition research document widely known as the Steele dossier, and the owner of Fusion GPA was someone named Glenn Simpson. Are you familiar with?
This is outside my purview.
Okay.
Your purview is to investigate the claims made in that dossier, you moron. I mean, I think that I would love to do the celebration track that everyone else is doing today. I would love to be in a situation where reality, you get speechless when you listen to this. I mean, it's absolute garbage. Everything about the Mueller report was absolute garbage. And you know, I've looked at all the 5 million pieces of reporting from 10 different sides to see what they say. But I think that the two highlights from yesterday, one was that clip where Mueller didn't recognize the name Fusion GPS. And if you don't know what Fusion GPS is, it's the company that put together what they call the Steele dossier. The Steele dossier was opposition research, that's right, which the media likes to act like they're offended if Trump was to get any kind of opposition research. But Hillary Clinton's campaign paid millions of dollars for this Steele guy, who's a ex-British spy, from what I understand, or intelligence, to make up this completely fabricated BS dossier about the Trump campaign. And so the whole case is predicated on this thing. There were 3 FISA warrants that were gotten to spy on members of the Trump campaign because of the Steele dossier produced by Fusion GPS. And the guy that runs the investigation doesn't know the name Fusion GPS. Do you have any idea how ridiculous that is? That's one of the I can't even compare it to something. It's like if the cops went to you, if the cops were investigating a car being stolen, and they never found out what kind of car it was, where it was stolen from, when it was stolen, who owns it, what state it was in when it was stolen. I mean, it's that ridiculous. It is absolutely that ridiculous. And for Robert Mueller not to know that, I mean, that's the nail in the coffin. I mean, yesterday, it was obvious the man didn't write the report, that he didn't know what the hell was happening. Everyone pretty much thinks that it was Andrew Weissman that did it, who's his pit bull, or complete and utter imbecile. I mean, not imbecile, asshole. That's a better word for it. Because this is a guy who's gotten plenty of people fired, ruined careers of people, just done deplorable things, and then had his horrible things overturned by the Supreme Court because he's so bad. And so what we saw yesterday was Robert Mueller, everyone's favorite, the man that Chelsea Handler said she was attracted to. So apparently, on top of everything else that she's a disgusting individual for, she's attracted to old men in senior living facilities that might need cleanup every once in a while. I mean, I hate to be a disrespectful asshole, but come on. This is a guy who's led investigations and ruined people's lives, and he just went out there and put his name on this document that could have gotten a president impeached. And he is not capable. It's so blaringly obvious about how horrible this thing is. There were millions, $25 to $30 million spent on this clown show. And let me play the other clip here. Hold on one second.
Mr. Mueller, rather than purely relying on the evidence provided by witnesses and documents, I think you relied a lot on media. I'd like to know how many times you cited the Washington Post in your report.
How many times I what?
Cited the Washington Post in your report.
I do not have knowledge of that figure, but that's it. I don't have knowledge of that figure.
I counted about 60 times. How many times did you cite the New York Times? I counted.
Again, I have no idea.
I counted about 75 times. How many times did you cite Fox News?
As with the other two, I have no idea.
About 25 times. I've got to say, it looks like Volume 2 is mostly regurgitated press stories. Honestly, there's almost nothing in Volume 2 that I couldn't already hear or know simply by having a $50 cable news subscription. However, your investigation cost the American taxpayers $25 million. Mr. Mueller, you cited media reports nearly 200 times in your report. Then in a footnote, a small footnote, number 7, page 15 of volume 2 of your report, you wrote, I quote, "This section summarizes and cites various news stories not for the truth of the information contained in the stories, but rather to place candidate Trump's response to those stories in context. Since nobody but lawyers reads footnotes, are you concerned that the American public took the embedded news stories?"
Time of the gentlelady is expired. The gentlelady from Washington.
Can Mr. Mueller answer the question?
No, we're running short on time. I said the gentlelady from Washington.
So at the end there, you heard Jerry Nadler, who's a big fat dump wad of a human being, who was cutting off what was happening because basically she was making Mueller look like a doddering imbecile who wrote down, well, on MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post, they said this, so I just put a little note there for it, so that way I could. Basically, he took a bunch of biased media coverage and put it in the second half of this report because the original $20 million worth of the first half says nothing at all. And then the second half is, well, people in the biased media said these things and Trump reacted to them angrily. So therefore, we should do something about it, even though there's absolutely nothing to charge for. And it's the whole thing is like they're basically trying to say that he's obstructing justice by being angry about news reports about a fake news story that we've now seen as a completely fabricated news. And then the conspiracy goes so many levels deep, too, on how all this was started. But let's just stick with the facts. The facts are this. The Hillary Clinton campaign paid millions of dollars to someone who is an English asset to ask Russian assets to make up crap and come up with a fake dossier to try to get the, one more way for her to win the election, one more way she cheated and didn't win. And then all of her buddies at the FBI did what they have to do. James Comey, who's a scumbag, James Comey, took this fake dossier and fake information and got FISA warrants so that they could start an investigation so they could try to get rid of the guy who beat Hillary, because basically they're all corrupt, they're all crooked, and they're all going to get exposed now because they don't have Hillary watching their back in the Oval Office. And so we just spent $25-30 million on, some doddering old man and his crew of disgusting piece of garbage lawyers to write a report, take up a bunch of time, keep the government busy on a witch hunt, which it is. And what's really funny about this is what they've done is, I think a lot of people, especially after yesterday, I mean, it's the nail in the coffin, because yesterday they basically took the people who were already questioning this whole thing and they just cemented it by calling this guy. Did they talk to this guy before they called him? Because, I mean, there's no way you sit in a room with this guy for 10 minutes and you think, we need to put this guy on TV. Unless you're just delusional and crazy. Unless you think, I mean, you see what Nadler was doing there. You see what Adam Schiff did. And other Democrats, Elijah Cummings, who's... Anyway. You see what they did when they get up there and Ted Lieu, my favorite piece of garbage, who just... I don't think I've ever heard him tell the truth. You could ask him the weather, for God's sake, and he'd tell you it's snowing and it'd be like 90 degrees outside. But they all got up there and they read their prepared thing, and it's like, so I'm going to go ahead and just read this whole long thing where I tell you how Trump is evil and should be thrown in jail, and the only reason you didn't throw him in jail was because there's a law that you can't throw a president in jail. And you're going to agree to it, okay? And he even went back on that one when they asked him later. He started the second half of the god-awful boring day with, oh, when Ted Lieu asked me that, and I said, yes, I was wrong. Yeah, because we already know that, dude. I mean, he switched that thing back and forth like 3 times that, he didn't bring charges on the president because he couldn't. He said that one time. I can't even keep up with which one was which, because he said it, then he went in there with Barr and he said that's definitely not what it was. I mean, there's nothing in there that you can bring charges on. You can't bring charges on someone for being angry that there's false charges against them. That's like, I think that we should definitely try this with everybody. We should definitely. The thing is, Comey's already a criminal, so we can't make a example. But let's say, for instance, you went up to Jerry Nadler, who's a big fat piece of garbage, and you said, "Hey Jerry, we have reports. We have a special dossier that says that you like to do dirty things with little boys. Can you prove you didn't?" Well, no, I can't. Well, you're gonna have to prove that you didn't, or else we're gonna put you in jail. Well, how can I prove I didn't? Well, you got to figure that one out there, buddy. But meanwhile, we're going to do a giant investigation, and we're going to take your money, and we're going to take your friends, and we're going to take money from them, and we're going to take, like General Flynn, for instance, he's lost his house, his business. He's lost millions because of this garbage witch hunt. Roger Stone is still in peril, and he still hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, he's obnoxious, but hey, who isn't these days? You have to be obnoxious to fight the other obnoxious. But so we tell Jerry Nadler, we say, so we're going to investigate this thing, and we're going to put a bunch of news stories out about how you like to play with little boys. And it's going to be on every news channel, and there's going to be people making press releases about it, and the Republicans are all going to go on different news shows and talk about there's definitely proof that you played with little boys. Okay? And Nadler's going to get pissed, and he's going to throw a fit, and he's going to throw his hamburger down and scream and yell and holler, and he's going to get mad, and he's going to say, this has got to stop. This is stupid. I didn't touch little boys. And we're going to go, well, we're going to have to keep investigating that and keep smearing your name through the mud and keep saying that you did it, and you're going to have to prove that you didn't. And then when the report finally comes out, the report says, well, yeah, we didn't exactly find out that Jerry Nadler, was playing with little boys. But we've got this whole second half of the report that shows all of these news reports where he was accused on these news reports of playing with little boys. And then we have recordings that he was angry that there were news reports that he was playing with little boys. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It seems like he was trying to obstruct justice when he was yelling that he was mad that people on TV said that he played with little boys. Are you following me? Do you see how ridiculous this thing has been? And this thing cost taxpayers millions of dollars. This thing's kept progress of any kind whatsoever from happening. Now, we can do a victory lap on this particular situation because right now, to be perfectly honest, I don't really I don't know if I want to say that I support Republicans, but I definitely support murdering the Democrat Party. Now, that doesn't mean that I want to kill anybody that's a Democrat. What it means is that I want to see the Democrat Party completely dissolved. Because at this point we've seen that every single presidential candidate, except maybe Tulsi Gabbard, and maybe Andrew Yang, are pretty much either soulless zombies that want power, sociopaths, because they will go along with the platform that they think will get them elected right now, or we are seeing that they are actually, I don't want to say, I mean, you could say they're evil for what they want to do, or you could say that they are stupid. So they're either soulless or stupid. How about that? We won't even say they're evil. We won't say that some of them have taken money from Jeffrey Epstein. We won't say that, they're not going to give that money back now because it's millions of dollars they want to use for their campaigns, even though he ran a pedophile island. But anyway, what we're saying is they've all raised their hand when the question was asked if we should give free health care to people who come to the country illegally. They've all raised their hand when they say that we shouldn't have borders, that we shouldn't have walls. They've all raised their hand when they've had to admit that they're going to tax the living shit out of America and the people of America and the middle class in America. By the way, either you're a complete and utter imbecile with that plan or you're evil, because there's no time when raising taxes, period, has increased the economy, has improved the economy. And every time they do tax cuts or lower taxes, for example, Kennedy, Reagan, Trump, there's actually more tax revenue brought into the government. So if it increases the economy and it increases the revenue that you guys get to blow because you can't manage your money to save your lives, why would Democrats always want to take your money? If the only result is going to be bad for not only the country, but for them. Some people would say it is because the Democrats are evil and they want to take your money and hold power over you. And some people say it's that they just don't understand. They think they're doing something righteous by taking money from the rich. Well, here's the deal. As much as I would love to play devil's advocate on that particular subject, we know that the rich, the corporations, the people that have the money, the top 1%, the evil monsters, are going to take their money elsewhere. They're going to hide behind different little rules and regulations and so forth, laws and loopholes and other things that their friends in politics help them with. So you're never going to tax the 1% and give that money away to people who don't work for a living or people that are just poor for some odd reason, not because they're drug addicts or lazy or just have bad luck. You can't do that. They're going to split. They're going to leave. They're going to take their toys and they're going to play elsewhere. And that money's going to end up in other governments and other people are going to get more powerful. And that's the problem. So, to kind of surmise what we've got going on here, and to make the most important point of the entire thing, I hope that people have realized, no matter what the media tells you, no matter what the social media sites tell you, no matter what the pundits and the newspapers and the magazines and the sitcoms are feeding you, a steady shotgun of garbage about Orange Man bad. I think that if we really open it up, and if we watch that thing yesterday, for instance, with an open mind, you can see, one, it was a witch hunt. Two, the FBI, the heads up here, the Democrats, Mueller, all of these people on the left right now, let's just say that, the people on the left did this to try to get political points. They don't care about getting any legislation through. They're just blocking legislation. They don't care about you, your family, who's starving. They don't care about people at the border. They're just trying to get people in to vote. There's no other reason to just want people to come in illegally without checking in at the door. But as I said, you need to make sure that your goofy cousin, your goofy uncle, your goofy friend at work, very gently let them know this stuff. Because even though it's blatantly obvious that in the next election, the Democrats should lose the House, we should get even more seats in the Senate, and Trump should win the White House in a landslide. This is just blatantly obvious to me. If you look at the numbers, you look at unemployment, you look at the economy, you look at the stock market, you look at our the evil people that have threatened us in the past, North Korea, Iran. I even read a story today about how China's economy is going down because they can't seem to make it work all of a sudden for some bizarre reason. Gee, I wonder why. If you look at the facts of what's going on, honestly, you could see that the Democrat Party is not a choice, not even an option at this point. Would I like there to be a second party to keep the Republicans in check? Sure. I don't think that the Democrats are going to be that party anytime soon. Until a bunch of young people start over and try to at this point, the Libertarian Party is a much better example, but I mean, they still can't agree on 10 things out of 10. But the problem I'm having is don't get overconfident. The problem I'm trying to expose. Don't get overconfident. Don't celebrate. Don't do a victory lap. Maybe do a victory lap today. Maybe go take your buddies out for a couple of beers and a couple of hot wings. Or if you're keto, a couple shots of vodka and some hot wings. Delicious. And, celebrate. Take a victory lap, but then get back in there and keep paying attention. Because the Democrats are like roaches. They don't go away. You don't kill them. I mean, that yesterday should have killed them. Just absolutely ended the party. But they don't stop. They're the most tenacious bunch of vermin out there. And the media's on their side. And they're going to spin everything they possibly can. And they're going to lie. I mean, CNN is literally on every cable package. And that's the only reason they have any viewers whatsoever. And they've lost 40% of their viewership in the last year. Or more in some cases, from what I understand. But they're still out there. They're put in every airport, every waiting room. The propaganda seeps in. And every sitcom, they seep it in there. So it's constant. People who don't pay attention to the news on a daily basis are being fed that subliminally all day long. And the social media, which hopefully it's very frustrating to watch what's going on with YouTube and Google and Twitter and Facebook right now. And the way that they're censoring anything right of far left. And that's the thing. They're just trying to quiet any voice besides far left. They're trying to quiet anything that might be opposition to what the Democrats are doing. And it's ridiculous. I mean, how can you... So, obviously their 230 protection needs to be taken away immediately. That way people could sue them when they decide to completely demonetize someone who's made a living growing the company, like YouTube. There are tons of YouTubers out there who've, made a pretty decent living doing YouTube videos, spending all day working on editing. I mean, it's a pain in the butt. That's why I'm doing this as audio right now, because I only have so much patience, and I have a day job. But YouTube's taking these people who've made a living getting the information out there, and they've taken their living away. So these people have to get day jobs. There's probably a dozen I can think of off the top of my head. Facebook has banned people and called them dangerous because they have different thought. And whether we like it or not, right now, I mean, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, we should have been coming up with, alternatives to where YouTube and Google weren't the number 1 and 2 search engines. I haven't had a Facebook in 5 years because it just seemed creepy as hell on 10 different levels. But, we should have made those alternatives, and there should have been, decent competition. But also, part of the antitrust that they're looking at is the fact that Google has been suppressing and fighting against its competition and making it impossible for them to grow. So, and then you've got Apple involved, where they won't let Gab's app on their store. Google won't let certain apps on their store. So they're basically able to fight, alternative media. So keep your eyes wide open, guys, and make sure that your friends hear these stories that they don't usually hear, and keep putting them out there on any kind of media you can. And we'll see you in 2020. Hopefully.